After 4 long years of waiting, countless speculation and coverage of the fabled Captaincy update, we no longer have to wait. As of today, the 4th of August, Saint Neat has blessed us with the Captaincy update, free for all players with the launch of Season 7. But is it everything we'd hoped for? No. But yes. We'll get into that. Season 7 delivers on most of Captaincy's promises and then ups the ante with a load more features outside of the intended scope detailed in those pre-release interviews, and unfortunately leaves out some much requested ones. Season 7 Captains of Adventure is coming in hot with a boatload of new features and of course the expected features we get with a seasonal drop. This includes the Pirate Emporium refresh, a new plunder pass, a new season pass and adventures later this season. But let's get into the meat and potatoes of Captaincy, and there's a lot to cover. First and foremost, becoming a captain is simple. All you have to do is save up enough gold to purchase a ship, which is accessible from the start screen. No, you do not have to be a pirate legend for this to be available either. Anyone from Game Pass Gary to myself can be a captain, regardless of experience. And oh boy did Rare make sure of that. The prices for the Sloop, Brig and Galleon respectively are 250k, 375k and 500k. For the brand new player, which Rare is always targeting, this will represent a small grind on the way to Pirate Legend. For players like me and many of you watching, this is chump change. As of the drop today, I was on 19 million gold and could comfortably afford all 3 of my ships. I personally think this is criminally low, pardon the pun, where anyone who is not a new player can be a captain in an afternoon's work. I do understand the risk of alienating new players with putting the ships too high, but making it this low and not making it locked behind Pirate Legend cheapens the thrill a bit. I'll cover this in depth in another video as we have much more to get through. Once you do have your ship, feel free to spawn into the game while you begin a tutorial with the Pirate Lord, and he will take you through all of the new perks as a captain. Rare nailed this interactive tour, with the Captains of Adventure theme playing in the background and the naming ceremony being the icing on the hardtack. I personally would have preferred Flameheart's floating head shouting at me as it better suits my alignment, but the murderer will have to do. Another point of note is that you can buy one of each ship set, but you have to reach a legendary milestone tier before you can buy another ship of that type. So what does a captain gain from this investment? Firstly, this unlocks new customization options, with naming your ship being the primary one, and this is perfect. You get 20 characters to play with, but make sure you choose carefully. It will cost you 499 ancient coins to change it. This is far too expensive for my taste. I understand the reasoning for locking it behind a fee, but 499 coins or £4 something is excessive. Along with naming the ship, you get the option to customize it with a nameplate, with some more basic options available from progressing through the new milestone system. I wasn't expecting these, so this is a fantastic surprise to say the least. The next big feature is interior customization in the form of trinkets and captain's cabins. Trinkets are small gewgaws that can be placed around your ship, be it in the cabin space or the various spaces away from the cabin. The trinkets are earned through the milestone system. You can purchase these from the shipwright and will come in 3 tiers, with all 3 models being the same aside from the base or frame. They can also come in a decoration variety. These are ornaments from around the Sea of Thieves that can be purchased on day 1. The ornaments range from daggers to plants to barnacles. These are fantastic. Oh, and you have a variety of paintings that you can hang inside the ship. I will be utilising these as much as possible. The second part of customising the ship comes from the captain's cabin. There are 17 sets to choose from, and this is a bit all over the place. The items you have to choose are curtains, curtain rails, chandeliers, captain's chairs, captain's tables, and beds. If you choose to give your galleon a makeover here, this will look amazing, but if you opt for a sloop or brig, your options are reduced to just 4 choices. You can only change the table, curtains, rug and beds, so the outcome will be certainly less striking. This really is a missed opportunity for the cabins to get a reshuffle. Even adding a chair would make this more impactful. Hell, even moving the rug to the middle and placing an additional one under the map would spice it up a bit. Another thing I have to mention is the limited models available for the parts. There looks to be 4 or 5 unique models spread across the available sets, with the rugs and beds all just being recolours, with no new geometry or patterns. To exacerbate this issue, only 17 sets are available as of day 1 out of 51 complete ship sets in the game. So if your favourite ship set isn't here, I would hedge my bets and say this will be the new thing drip fed each month instead of the clothing recolours from before. Granted, you will find something you like, and some sets tend to match with others regardless, but if you're picky about this, then it will annoy you. I am blessed to have the stuff I wanted today, but some of you may be waiting for a long time. Overall though, the galleon will stand out the most with this generous customization. With the ability to save all the customization pieces too, for a few thousand gold per piece, you never have to navigate this mess of a UI again. At least when you're dressing your ship up anyway. Oh, and the lantern and harpoon customization is out, so don't expect that in this update. Back to the positive, more benefits await with access to supplies that rented ships don't get. You can visit the shipwright and fill up your barrels. Options include cannonballs, throwables, uncooked meat, fruit and bait, with none of these affecting your ability to buy crates from the Merchant Alliance. The fruit and meat changes are a godsend and almost worth the buy-in alone. I love this change, it's so immersive and will give way to more fierce battles on the seas. Not only that, but you have access to Captain's Voyages too. These are the same voyages you have from the trading companies, but allow you to choose the length, so you have more control over the adventures you do embark on. Most importantly, you're not limited to your previous restrictions, so feel free to stack Legend of the Veils, nothing bad will happen. I promise. Mercenary Voyages make a weird return. They're just a mix of all three main factions, similar to the Friends Play Free Voyages from 2019. If you're a newer player, this will be great, but any veteran players will give this a miss, unless you're happy to grind for milestones. The perks keep on coming. Every captain ship will now have a captain's log, which records some stats about the ship and its crew members. Some of these are session based and some persist across multiple sessions. If you sink a captain ship, the log will float up and can be sold to the Reapers. It's a nice little prize even if someone has no loot on board. I will say though, this book had the potential to create some legendary stories. This mainly comes from the days since sunk stat. This is session based and is related to in-game days. As this ticks up, it's worth more and more. Having the stat persist over sessions could have been incredible. Imagine sinking a ship that has never been sunk or hasn't sunk in 100 days or so, or even 24 hours of real time. A sorely missed opportunity in creating legendary battles, legendary crews and legendary vessels. You can also buy skins for the captain's log to match the nameplates, again earned through milestones. Overall, it's another awesome feature that is just missing that final touch. Next up are the ship banners and titles. For specialising your ship through a particular progression path, you can earn titles for your ship. These come in the forms of both normal titles and legendary versions, which reflect your playstyle, but none of these are PvP focused, mind you. So at the end of the day, it's anyone's guess if that ship wielding a title is dangerous. Along with this, these titles are seen in the banners. These activate when you approach the ship and when it's spotted through a spyglass. It will tell you the name of the ship, the title, and the captain of the ship. It's an absolutely epic feature that is everything we could have wished for. At least if you run into me, you will know from a distance by now. 10 out of 10 for this rare. There is a cosmetic feature too in persistent damage. Every scratch, hole, and scorch mark will stay in your ship. You can fix this up at the shipwright for a fee and the ship will be just as new. The final perk of being a captain is the sovereigns. These are little assholes that will only deal with captains. They will accept any and all loot, with their tents having various mechanisms to make unloading piss easy. There's a rowboat dock, lifts and harpoons to put the rowboat method to shame. They deliver the loot free of charge and will even prioritise gems to your chosen emissary. They don't work with the Reaper's bones because they're scared of them, so the servant remains the best person to sell your loot to. I will be interested to see how the running meta increases with this easy sell point though. On the bright side, Daggertooth is now a top tier outpost given the easy selling and the gargantuan number of supplies available. One final point on the sovereigns, these should have been the merchants for anything to do with Captaincy, such as the voyages and supplies. I can see why Rare kept it all in the same place, but come on, they even have the stuff right there. We're nearly at the end of the Captaincy features, and I've saved the most controversial bit for last. This is the Milestone system. If you thought Sea of Thieves commendations were a grind, you've seen nothing yet. Milestones are like commendations, but head up to 100 main tiers. You can earn trinkets and ship parts for engaging in this, so you will be engaging in this regardless if you want to or not. Milestones are rewarded for activities from killing megs, fishing, sleeping, or even sinking. Sounds fine, right? Yeah, for a new player. But none of your commendations will roll over aside from the Shrouded Ghost. So all the voyages, the fishing, the shrines all count for nothing. The milestone system is the great equalizer. It keeps going. Some of these tiers have some crazy grinds, from the tedious to the obnoxious. For example, some of the fish require 2,500 of one species of fish to max out the rewards. 2,500 of the same fish. Another example is sleeping. The first tier is 60 minutes of sleeping. 60 minutes of staring at a black screen. Sorry, no, there is a bit of a visual aid here. If you want to hit tier 100, then that's 100 hours of staring at a black screen. And none of those shitey mermaids carry over too, otherwise we'd all have done it by now. This is a fantastic system for someone starting their grind and is also an incredible amount of progression, even for the likes of UK and Captain Blubber, but will take even me years to finish. It's actually really good until you consider this has been pasted over the content we've been engaging with for the last 4 years. All the tall tales are the same, as are the voyages, as are the fish, as is everything else. And of course, some of these milestones can only be progressed on your ship, so if you play with a crew, good luck with that. I'm sure this will cause arguments. I wouldn't be so averse to the system if you had some genuinely awesome stuff to unlock, but not one thing has stood out to me as a must-have. It would be just the same if everyone's commendations progress was wiped. This system would have been so much more engaging for everyone if there were some new activities or even some cool challenges. For example, time spent hiding on boats, or hitting cannibals over certain distances, or sinking ships without sinking yourself. There was a real opportunity to flip the progression on its head. I don't think making us do what we've been doing for the last 4 years was the best choice for a new progression system. That's all the brand new features for Captaincy, and this is leaving out all of the other seasonal content. Still with me? Let's crack on. The season pass is starting us off, and what a strange pass this is. The seasonal scar, tattoo, sails and flag are the best we've had. Those Kraken sails are great in particular. I might start using these. As for the seasonal summer stuff, as much as I'm tired of it, I do like some of the items here, like the Super Soaker and the Straw Hat. The Coconut Tankard is probably the best one on here though. I tell you what, this is much better than the spring stuff we had last season. There's also the seasonal clothing set, the Courage of Captaincy, which is kind of a recolor / completion of the Courage set. This isn't my cup of tea and sort of feel like this is an easy dump onto the pass. I personally won't be touching any of this. After 5 seasons now, we still only have 2 Pirate Legend items. This has been fed back multiple times now, so don't expect this to ever improve. It's far too low, more so considering the potential of the items that they can actually release. As a consolation, Merrick's jacket is here, to everyone's delight. For the 100 reward, we have our 4th sword in 7 passes, and it's a Merrick's sword? I'm not a fan of this one, but I get the design behind it. Just Merrick doesn't really use a sword, and we could have had so many other iconic items. But we get a new one that we didn't even know existed. The Servant's Jacket would have been a more sensible choice given the whole Lost Sands thing last season. I suppose Merrick doesn't need that stuff anymore. The Servant does. The Plunder Pass is quite cool. We're continuing with the summer season theme. Although I do hope this is the last seasonal theme set because I'm getting a little bit tired of it now. The ship set is cool and vibrant, just not my cup of tea again. This is the same for yet another costume. I will also say the theming is much better than when it was a hodgepodge of random emporium items, so I can't really fault them too much for that. Speaking of which, the emporium is looking as it usually does, with the repeat offenders showing up. We have 2 new emote bundles, the build rat weapon emotes and the portable portrait emotes are a delight as always. Especially the portraits being a brand new concept overall. I really like these and will probably pick them up. We also have a themed set of cosmetics based on the Wrecker fish called the Wrecker Wrangler. This includes a costume, fishing rod, weapons and ship set. I like the ship set for its colour palette and the figurehead has its own fish tank, but it's quite garish. This could have easily been unlocked through the Hunter's Call commendations, but looks like the fish ship types will continue to come to the Emporium. The costume is, well, a costume. I'm just fed up with them at this point. It's quite cute as it looks like a kid's onesie. Weapons and fishing rod are okay too though. Although there is something I feel very passionately about in the Emporium, and that is the new ship crests. There are 5 premium ship crests in the Emporium being sold for 599 coins each. They all look absolutely fantastic, but have set a dangerous precedent. Look at how amazing the premium content is and then compare that to the earnable ones. I am really not a fan of this decision, and it's clear the best ones will be going into the Emporium from now onwards. And what's even worse, some are clearly part of earnable sets, such as the Sunken Sorrow, the Bone Crusher, the Dark Adventurer and the Reaper's Bones. In the case of the Dark Adventurer one, the colour looks to have been changed to distance it from the set. This is really not the play, just based off the disparity between the earnable stuff and the premium stuff. I'm honestly a bit disappointed about this one. And finally, to round out the mega list of features, I've left quite possibly the biggest gameplay change to last. The Sloop has now had some balance changes to bring it in line with PvP inflation, specifically being outnumbered, chain shots and blunderbombs. These are awesome and the vast majority look great, with one being a little bit questionable. So sloops are just going to be more resilient now, starting with lower vertical knockback, where you're more likely to stay on the ship instead of a fight being ended by you being knocked off. The change is really good and will reduce the fights ending with a lucky cannonball. Solo players have their respawn timer reduced from 17 seconds to a minuscule 10 seconds, which is lightning fast. Honestly, this change is crazy and might be a bit too extreme, but solo players will be viable again. Maybe too viable. Reviving on enemy ships is now disabled across all ship types, making the board spawn camp meta much less potent. I'm chuffed with this as I hate reviving as a PvP mechanic. This will promote more healthy fights rather than players using boarding as a crutch for poor naval. The changes keep coming, as sloops now have even more spawn points to reduce the risk of the boat being locked down with the sword cheese or instant blunder on spawn. Again, this is fantastic. And I've left the most controversial change to last. It's the mast changes. You can't destroy a mast with its own cannons anymore, which is actually another good choice. However, chain shots have their damage nerfed, where a sloop mast will now take 2 of them to fall. It will still be the 3 regular balls to drop, however. This will be interesting on how it affects the running meta, with the opportunity to end a chase being that much smaller than before, so good luck catching those sloops. Personally, I would have increased the speed in which the mast is raised, as sloops will be so difficult to immobilise now. It sets a frightening benchmark for how nimble they've become now. I think though, we can all agree that solo slooping becoming viable again is healthy for the game, and I'm interested in getting back on the waves and taking some names now. I strongly believe this patch will change the game enormously, for better or worse. I think it will create a signpost where we will be discussing the sloop pre and post patch. I would be surprised if that wasn't the case by Season 8. Finally, we have around 15 weeks until Season 8, making Season 7 closer to 4 months. I am disappointed about this, as I was hoping for a short season. November sounds very far away, even more so when we all have big expectations of what that will be. At least we have 3 or so adventures to look forward to in the meantime, so it remains to be seen if Captaincy will carry us to that November deadline. Rest in peace roadmap, anyway. Season 7 has very clearly fundamentally changed the game, not only in the immersion department, but it looks to be the pirate fantasy that we've all been waiting 4 years for. Well, this would have been perfect with some tweaks to the milestone system and captain's log, and going a little bit further with the customization system, this truly would have been the best update since Anniversary. I still really love this update despite these blemishes and a hefty delay. To be fair to it, it exceeds my expectations in most areas, but the wishlist has not been fully checked off. I hope to see Captaincy evolve as a feature over time with new milestones, sets and customization options, although no one can argue that this isn't a truly chunky update. Looking at how long this review is testament enough to that. I'm sure Captain Blubber's is even chunkier. The video, I mean, not anything else. And one absolutely final thing, Mike, you still owe me setting out of the waterfall in the hideout.
So come set sail as a pirate captain. Our time is almost up, so as we leave, if you want to be a pirate captain, come do it in Season 7 of Sea of Thieves.